welcome to episode 34 of my POA podcast, Black Hand and Beyond. Thanks for joining us live again on another Tuesday night. I'm going to try to do these every week in March. Of course, this is our first one, so there'll be 5 weeks in March this year. So I'm going to try to do it every Tuesday. So, and then into April, we're going to have some too. At the end of the episode, stick around because I'm going to talk about some of the future episodes that we're going to have, probably for at least 4 or 5 episodes. I'm trying to script them out a little bit. Sometimes it gets a little stale that way. I like to throw in one that's like we did with the convention recap and things like that, especially with foaling season coming. Don't forget, we're going to have the cutest foal contest. I'll have more information about that. My wife's going to help me with that project, Monica. So that should be cool. There'll actually be an award for the winner, and we're going to have a lot of foals hopefully entered in that. That'll be later on, of course, when a lot of the foals are born. So start snapping pictures of your cutest foals. I see Tracy's here. Hopefully people went on. I sent a link to everyone in the group tonight for Ecamm Live. That's just what we use. I know on my phone, and like Monica, when she's watching it live on her phone, she can see everyone that comments, and a lot of people that are watching can see all the comments, but I can't on the screen that I'm looking at right now. I see like it says Tracy Sweet Keen, I'm here. But then somebody else that hasn't went through Ecamm might come up and say, hi Kent, or great show, or whatever that you want to say a comment about what we're talking about, and it won't come up. It'll just say the comment, and it'll say Facebook user. So I'd really like to see more of the names so I can see who's commenting without somebody else saying that was so-and-so or this person. So I'm going to let, just kind of wasting time here, see like right there, it's Nikki Reinholdt. She put that, but it says Facebook user. So thanks for saying that, Nikki. Maybe put initials or something after a comment. That's what I know. Nikki's one of our good viewers. Of course, Tracy is. And she just said, you have to download the app. Once you do that, it's easier to access through the link on the broadcast. Yep. And I put the app on the POA history group tonight and sent a request to everyone, so that if you're not already on it, you should have got a request. See, like the third person to comment tonight, it just says hi, and it says Facebook user. So I'm in the dark there. But anyway, we have a great show tonight, and we have about 80 pictures to go through and pedigrees and stuff. We're going to talk about 2 families, both from Ohio. First, the Knight family from Orient, Ohio. They're fairly new to POAs, and they have a stallion that they're going to start breeding this year that they've been showing. And then our second feature tonight will be about the Fisher family, also from Ohio, from Delaware, Ohio. They're more in the twilight of their breeding program. They've been in POAs a long time, since the 70s or early 80s. And they're, of course, Hall of Famer Millard and Nancy Fisher. Millard's in the Hall of Fame, rightfully so, been in there for a long time. And we're going to talk about their program in the early days, and then their current success the last 10 to 20 years on the path they've went. So let's get to some pictures here. And we're also going to have a guest. Lori Wilson Knight will be our first guest. I will be calling her in a few minutes here. So this is her family, some of the swag they won at the convention for the high points in 2021. And then she put this little thing together. She's kind of a graphic designer, Lori. She's that's, you know, her hobby or fun thing. We'll talk to her about that when she gets on here. But she sent me some cool images before of their stallion with his sire. And you guys have seen those on different podcasts here, like the Silver Kid podcast. Dean, you come up. You said, hi, this is Dean, but it comes up Dean Damon. Your name is right there. So Skyrock is here, so that's California. It's a lot earlier out in California. We had California weather today. I think currently, let's check my phone. This is a live broadcast. Oh, it went down to 66, but when I was getting ready, it was 70 something. It's a little warm in this studio here with the door shut. So there's the Knight family, some of their stuff they won, and then this is their stallion here, LP Right on Target. That's his sire, the Silver Kid in the background. Lori did that graphic for the Silver Kid episode. And then, of course, our other feature program tonight will be the Fisher family from Ohio. This is their longtime POA and one of their first famous POAs that they purchased in the early 80s, I believe 1980, and that's Smokey Blackburn. They made him a Supreme Champion, and we're going to talk about some of his foals and grand foals all the way down to great, and the impact he's made on POAs. And then the latest POA or horse to make an impact on them is this Appaloosa mare that they hardship. Her name is Subtle Impulse, and she's an own daughter of the Impulsive Zipper from Michigan, the best family stallion. And this is CRF Follow Your Impulse. She's actually the dam, the baby there is the dam to this stallion right here. So that's kind of cool. That's the connection tonight. And of course, Orient, Ohio and Delaware, Ohio is probably about 48, 50 miles apart that these two families are from. So it's kind of cool. So that's the two families we're going to talk about tonight. Now, this mare made a huge impact on the Fisher program, just like Smokey Blackburn did in the 80s. She has in the 2000s and still today. And now she's making impacts on other people's programs, as we're going to talk about. Her cross with Dean Dammon's stallion, Doc's Rough and Tough, was what you call in the horse industry a golden cross. It just has produced a lot of fillies and some colts too, but mainly fillies that just went on to do great things. So Doug Sorrell is here tonight. I invited Doug on here because it's an Ohio show and he's an Ohio guy, and he's joining us, so that's cool. Of course, he was a guest on the Sales podcast, if you want to go back and watch that. A reminder, I pinned all the episodes, all 33 of them, to the top of POA History Group on Facebook. So now you don't have to scramble through and search for days to find an episode. You just go on the top, and it's like Tinder. You just swipe, and you find which one you want, click on it, and you can watch them all. Really easy to access. So, all right, I'm going to make a phone call here and call my only guest tonight. Special guest is Lori Wilson Knight from Ohio, and I'm calling her right now. And hopefully this works good, live TV here.
Please leave your message for 61.
Uh-oh, turn that off. Well, Lori, you're not there, so let's try again. That's why I said it's live TV. Meanwhile, we're watching this picture of this mare as we get to that episode later on. I mean, that part of the episode. And we're going to talk about hardships probably in April. We're going to have an episode on hardships. It was by request, and this mare will be talked about then too. Of course, we're going to discuss her life tonight, but we could dive into her pedigree a little more on that episode. Now, she's a registered Appaloosa mare that was short enough to become a POA. She looks like a tank. Of course, she's Western Pleasure bred on the top side for sure. Impulsive Zipper was her Appaloosa sire. So, but the Fisher family did hardship her as a POA. But that episode will also be about ponies that lost their way or, and became registered POAs. Okay, Lori's calling me, so here we go. Hello?
Hi, Kent. It's Lori.
Hey, I thought you were ghosting me for a minute.
No, not at all.
Okay, well, you're live. Tracy, let me know if you can hear Lori real well. So, go ahead and keep talking, Lori. I'm getting a little reverb in the back, so you may want to turn down the podcast that you're watching.
It down.
Yeah.
Yep, I got you.
I feel like the old 70s and 80s announcers, the late night announcers. I used to watch or listen to WCCO from Minneapolis, and a call-in guest would call in, and you'd hear, you'd hear it, and the guy would go, "Turn down your radio, sir. Turn down your radio." So Lori, I just want to tell people, you and I have never met that I know of, and we've never even spoke. So we're just going, winging it tonight, and I didn't interview you or anything.
That's right.
So, and that's the best way I've found. Sometimes I call people in advance, but tonight I thought, well, we've been going back and forth on Messenger, so
Yeah.
I'm going to show a picture of your family now, or part of it, your two sons and you at the convention just a week or two ago. So,
Oh, yeah.
with a lot of swag there. So
Yeah, we had a really nice time. It was a great banquet this year. They did an amazing job. Really good.
I wish I would have went, but Indianapolis is just a ways away for me when I got other trips I'm planning. I always want to go to Tulsa. I can't miss that. And just some other things I go to. So, but next year I heard it's going to be in Missouri, so that's not going to be as fun for you, but it's going to be way closer for me. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not a bad place because it's a little more centrally located. So,
It
yeah.
is. I bet they have a huge turnout. You'll have some people that haven't been in a while. So it's fun to move it around. I think if you look at the history, that's probably an episode we could do in the future, but the history of the convention, they'll have it in Indianapolis for 4 or 5 years, and then all of a sudden they'll go away for 4 or 5 years and then move back to Indianapolis. But, you know, they went to Reno and, of course, St. Louis and Texas, Florida. They went all over, Minnesota, Wisconsin. So it's kind of fun to go back to Missouri. I know it's been there before, not in that location, but in the state. So you guys are from Ohio. Did you grow up in Ohio, Lori?
I am from Ohio. I grew up here, and my husband is a California guy.
Okay. Okay, so he's a couple time zones over. So.
Yeah. I live in a small area, and I've jokingly said this for a long time, but we live in a pretty small community outside of Columbus, and I made sure, because we have a big family, so I wanted to make sure I didn't have, related inbred children. So I made sure my husband was from very far away.
Okay, well, your kids look good. They're not cross-eyed or anything, so
yeah,
that's good.
Came out, they're all right.
Yeah, they have a saying for that, a syndrome, so yeah, that's good. What's your husband's name, since we're picking on him a little bit? What's his name?
His name is Carl, and you'll see him. He comes to all the shows, and he's usually holding horses, leading horses, going back and forth, carrying the broom back.
Right.
Maybe one of these days we'll get him out with a halter horse.
What does he think of this breeding now? You're starting a breeding program this spring. What's he thinking of that?
Well, he loves the mares and babies.
Okay.
That is his favorite thing. Absolutely loves them.
Okay, good. What's your son's name? We'll start with the one on the left. I think he's the younger one, right?
Yep, that's Clayton, and he is my younger one, and then my older one is Colton.
Okay.
And Clayton is really the one that kind of got us into the POA. He really wanted a pony. I showed for years, and growing up, I think I started showing when I was 6.
Okay.
And kind of took a little hiatus when my husband and I got married and we started our family, and I was in graduate school. And he saw all these pictures of me showing, and we had horses, but we weren't showing anything. And he kept saying, "Mom, I want to show like you. I want to show like you." And I thought, oh boy, man, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, there we go again. That's a lot of money, yeah.
Oh, already sold the horse trailer.
Right.
So for a couple years, I made him clean stalls and help feed, and you really put the time into it, because it's not just about going to a horse show and getting a ribbon. It's a lot more than that.
A lot of dedication.
And by God, yeah. And you know what? He put the work in. He really did. So we bought our first POA, and it was a Christmas present for him. So he was pretty excited about that.
Okay. And what was that POA's name?
We bought One Hot Chip from Shannon Bear.
Okay. Yeah, he's a good POA, One Hot Chip. Yep, I've seen him many times.
Yeah.
Probably with your son riding him, too.
Yeah, and the funny story about that, we were looking to buy something, and my husband, first of all, we showed quarter horses, and so I stood a quarter horse stallion, and he had passed away, and so we weren't breeding, and we had these really good quarter horse mares in the field. Okay. And my husband said, well, I tell him, the night before, I'm going to go look at Chuck, One Hot Chip.
Right.
I said, I'm going to go to Iowa tomorrow to look at a horse. He said, what? He says, yeah, I'm going to go to Iowa. And he said, well, what are you going to look at? I said, well, I'm going to go look at a POA. He said, what? He said, we have quarter horses, Lori. Why are you going to go look at a POA? I said, well, for kids, and I want something that's really safe, that my Clayton can ride, that I can show, that we can enjoy as a family, and it's a great family organization.
Right.
And then he says, well, what is it? I said, well, it's a gelding. He says, my God, Lord, you can't even breed that. What are you going to do if he gets hurt? I said, I don't know. I hope he doesn't get hurt.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to Iowa. I said, okay, well, I'll see you when I get back. So I went to Iowa, and we went out there, and I just loved Chuck. He was great.
Right.
So I came back home, and Carl says, well, what did you think? I said, well, I already put a deposit on him. I said, we're going to have him shipped. And so long right before Christmas, and we bring him over to my mom and dad's place about 2 miles from us so we can hide him from Clay. Like, shipper there and get him off the trailer. So he gets him, and he says, Lori, this horse has 2 blue eyes. He said, this is, and he's polka dotted. I said, yep,
Yeah.
he is. And you know what? Within a couple months, he really, really started just loving the breed. And he saw the same thing that I had known for a long time. They're just, they're just great, great horses. They're
Right.
so talented.
They are. Well,
And
you got a good one to start with, too, so that helps. But there is
Yes,
a lot
he
of good
did.
ones.
Yes, he did.
Out of 50,
Yep, he is a good
60,000,
one.
there's been a lot of good ones. But, yeah, you got
Yeah.
a good show. Your phone was breaking
Yep.
up a little bit, but we got all that story. We missed a word or two. So you are out in the country probably, so.
Oh, yeah, we're in the country.
Yeah. So you alluded to the growing up in AQHA as a kid, and you guys had a stallion. What was his name?
The stallion that we showed was a horse named In Good Taste,
Okay.
and he was a Western Pleasure Stallion.
He was a good virgin son?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yep, good
that's
version.
Ohio. Yeah, of course, that's a famous Ohio stallion. Well, he's famous anywhere, but especially in Ohio. So,
Yeah, lots of good versions out here.
Oh, you're commenting too. You're talking and typing at the same time. My guess is.
Well, that might be
What's that?
my kid.
Oh,
That might be my kid.
Okay, because Lori Wilson Knight just said me too. So,
Oh.
because somebody said love that blue-eyed boy, and again, it just says
Oh, that
Facebook
would be-
user on my end. So.
I think Clayton.
Yeah, Clayton probably said me too. So Clayton and
Yeah.
Colton are your two boys, and
Yep.
Colton's showing your stallion, right?
He
In Halton?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Colton was very, he didn't want to have anything to do with the horses. He was very shy around them, very insecure.
Okay.
And, we really encouraged him. We wanted him to show. He wasn't really interested. So I'm not going to push somebody to do something they don't want to do.
Right.
But I said, you're going to go to shows with us, and we're going to have family time. Well, he decided that maybe he could do halter. So he enjoys the halter.
Good. We have pictures of him too, but first we have, I believe this is your stallion as a baby that we're looking at right now. If you can see the screen.
Yep,
Yep.
that's right.
That's him. So he was born a snow cap, and now he's unicorn white, I call it. He's a real pretty white, even prettier than that picture there. But here he is when he's getting a little older. And yeah, and we have a lot of pictures of him. Here he is learning, I think, probably learning how to handle a saddle and the whole outfit there, it looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he, and here's some good pictures of him. So Colton did well with him. He was #1 in the nation, right? One of those buckles we seen.
He was.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of him because he really did almost all of the work with him. I showed him a few times when he had football games and couldn't miss.
Okay.
But for the most part, he did it all. I was so proud of him.
Oh, good. Doug Sorrell just said good version came from John Wayne Scott program. John and I are both from Miamisburg, Ohio. John's birthday might be today, he said. So,
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, my goodness.
Doug's got a horse background. He was the POA auctioneer. I don't know if you ever met Doug Sorrell, but he's from Miamisburg, Ohio, really famous auctioneer, especially in the POA world. He's in our Hall of Fame. He did the POA national sale for 25 years in a row. He was famous for hardly ever taking a break. So, he did a lot of them when they were in Iowa, all the ones in Oklahoma and Tulsa. So, so here's the pedigree of LP right on target. Go ahead and give a shout out to his breeder. Who was the breeder of this young stallion?
It was Patty Jacobson.
Okay. From Wisconsin, right?
From Wisconsin.
Right. Of course, I love this pedigree, and my family's all over this with Kiddo Tough in here. And, of course, Rough and Tough was bred when Doc Nemmers leased Kiddo Tough from my family and took him down to, well, actually over to Wisconsin. His first year he lived in in Hazel Green, and bred Doc's Double Zip was a great mare. She died at a fairly young age. She had Rough and Tough. She had a full sister to Rough and Tough that ended up passing away too, and she was born solid, but I think she would have colored out because she was colored up. She was a kiddo daughter. And then he had some Snowstorm babies out of that same mare, but she was a great mare. And then Doc's Double Sweet up there, and of course Driftwood's Misfire. You got some of the best brood mares in the POA. And then Kids Double Sweet is, you know, probably one of the best ever, the Silver Kid's mother. And of course she had other foals too that became supreme champions. So just a really cool I'm jumping the gun, cool pedigree. And then you go down to CRF, Follow Your Impulse. That's our breeder we're going to talk about later in the show. And I got about 60 pictures to go through from their breeding program, and you'll get to see her. You already did see a baby picture of her tonight. So
yeah.
I'm sure that was cool to see.
Yeah. Well, as a person who's worked with stallions before, I know it's really important to have that good pedigree, and you need to have it on top and bottom. There needs to be both, and you need a strong mare. I'm a big firm believer. I'm a person who believes in having a good mare.
Oh yeah, mares are the most important for sure.
Oh, they really are. They really are. And when I saw him, I have a tendency to kind of buy horses and then just tell my husband I'm going to do it after the fact. And he'll attest to that.
That's not a bad policy. Yeah,
why fight ahead of time? We'll just do it afterwards.
Right.
I'm a collector. But anyway, when I saw his pedigree, I thought, wow, this horse is bred great. And I knew how good the Silver Kids were. And then I reached out to Kelly Pittman and to Millard and Nancy and asked them about him because I knew that came from one of their mares.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And I showed him the video that I had. I said, I haven't seen this horse in person, but this is the video I have. And I remember Kelly saying, if you don't buy that horse, you need to let me know because I'm interested.
Right.
But yeah, it's important to have that pedigree.
Right. And what the pedigree we're looking at right now, what I love about that is it's all POA except the bottom. And then, of course, Impulsive Zipper is a famous Pleasure Appaloosa stallion. And then his daughter was short enough to become a POA. Here it doesn't indicate that, but she became a hardship POA. So that means she's 56 or under. So this pedigree is full of POA stuff, so you can cross him a lot of different ways. That's what I like about him.
Right, and that's really the main reason that one of the main reasons we got him is because, like I said before, we have a field full of these great quarter horse brood mares, and I needed something that I was going to be assured that I was going to get my color, and I was going to keep my size. Now, my mares aren't real big, but, they're around 15 hands, 14 2-ish.
Right.
But I wanted to make sure that I could cross those mares on him, and he really fit the bill for us.
He does. He does for sure. Do you have any daughters of In Good Taste left? One or two?
I do.
Oh, good.
I do.
Good.
I actually own. Yeah. I actually own the only full sibling to that stallion.
Okay.
So I'm breeding her, and then I'm breeding an own daughter out of a superior A2HA mare. That's a daughter of In Good Taste.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I can't wait to see those babies next year, so that'll be cool.
Yeah.
So this is his first year breeding? You didn't test breeding before? Or?
No, this will be his first year breeding horses. We're pretty excited about it.
Okay.
We're real excited. I think he's going to do a really good job for us. He's just so easy to handle and so good-minded, and I just think he's going to be one of those horses that you can breed and still continue, working with.
Right. I know he's under 51. Lori, what's his official measurement at his age, or last year at 4?
Well, he's measured anywhere between 50 3/4 to 51, depending on how long his feet are.
Okay. All right. So he looks like a small stallion. I mean, you can tell, when a POA, they have that look. And of course, Rough and Tough was one of the most famous small stallions in history. He never showed at the national show in that class, but he did at the World. He won as a yearling and a 2-year-old, Rough and Tough. And it was ironic. Yeah. He ended up being small. He would have done well in that class. But
right.
we're here's a picture of your son with Colton, and everybody loves this picture. I got to put this in here for the Ha factor. So It's the one where he's in his
yeah.
lap. Yeah. Yeah. So that
So
tells you the
that was
disposition too.
actually, I know. That was actually taken at Congress, and anybody that knows, we call our stallion, we call him Gunner. But if anybody knows Gunner, it's unusual to see him standing in the stall because I've never seen a horse sleep as much as him. He's comfortable no matter where he's at.
Yeah,
So this
that's
was
good.
taken. Yeah, this was actually taken after he showed the halter class, and he had gone back. Of course, he laid down, and Colton goes in there, and he's just sitting there, and he just lifts his head up and puts it right in his lap and falls right back to sleep. It was so cute.
That is cute. I do got to say, no offense to Silver Kid, but I think Gunner's one of the better-headed Silver Kid offspring and stallion, and some of that is the rough and tough in there too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that mare
Yeah,
had a
he
good,
is-
nice head. Yeah.
Well, and his mother's very pretty headed, and
Yeah.
her babies are beautiful headed
They're
too.
beautiful headed. Yep. So that was a good cross for sure, breeding that mare too. And that mare's been owned by some good breeders. I know. I think she's at Jess Drish has her now, right? The mother. Too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she'll be producing some more good babies. Here's a cool picture of him. He looks like, it's funny your last name's Knight because this picture reminds me with the black background, you know, it reminds me of like a horse from the medieval times, you know what I mean? Just that long
Yeah.
tail back there. And that's what I'm talking about, that unicorn white. I know it's gray, it's not technically white, but he just shines, you know, he has a shine to him. So
He does, and surprisingly, he's pretty, thank God, neat in the stall.
right, or that'd be a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be. He's pretty neat in the stall, but really, he stays pretty clean. I don't know if it's just him, but he washes up pretty easy, and when he does, he just glistens.
Oh, that's cool. That's good. Well, let's talk about some of your other POAs. There's a leopard on here now, if you can see that.
Okay. I think that one is, So that's our new mare. We bought her this past May. We bought her from Lisa Pryor was the agent that we went with,
Okay.
and found this mare, and she is by Kiddo Bounce
Okay.
out of a Zip Chocolate Chip Simply Hot quarter horse mare, and she's going to end up being, I think, probably about 55 and a half. She's coming a 4-year-old.
Okay.
And eventually she'll be in our broodmare band as well.
All right. And her name is Are You Kidding Me?
Yeah, Are You Kidding Me? We call her Penny.
Okay, Penny. All right. Is she a leopard mare, or did she roan, or?
Yeah, she's a leopard.
Okay.
She's a
She's by-
sorrel leopard.
Yeah, by Kiddo Bounce. And putting you on the spot, who's her mother? Do you remember who her mother is?
Oh boy.
I always got to put people on the spot, so I know one ever comes back to the show. They're one-time guests.
I don't know if
That's
Judy
all right.
Wilkins is actually the breeder. If Judy
Okay.
Wilkins is out there, she can tell you. I can't
Yeah,
remember
she can
the
tell
mare's
you.
name.
Yeah, but all right.
We just put her in training this year, and
Okay.
she's riding really, really well. So we're hoping to have her ready to do like the JPFC or JFTC
Okay.
security classes this year.
All right. Now I moved on
And this
to
is
Colton. Is that her that he's holding, or
Pardon me?
is that her? Is that mare?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the mare that was at Congress too.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
that
was
was
it.
actually the second show I think with her.
Okay. Did she win High Point this last year too for her?
She did.
She did,
Yeah,
yeah.
she did. We were really excited.
Oh,
Yeah, we
that's
pushed
cool.
kind of hard because we didn't start till May with her.
Right. Okay. So let's see. Now I'm moving on to, this looks like Clayton. I think that's
Yeah, I
Clayton.
think I have a slight delay. From
Yeah,
you,
you
so
will.
hold on
Well,
just
you
a
know,
second.
you're out in the middle of Ohio, so I'm in the middle of Oklahoma. So,
Yeah. So let's see. Which picture is it?
it's the one where he's walking on the grass. He has a black hat on and probably a purple shirt. And
Okay, that's actually Colton, and
Oh, that is Colton.
we
Okay.
just that was at Newcastle, Indiana, and we had just picked her up. And I took those pictures there of him trying to get some photos for Congress, and that
Okay.
was her. That's her name.
Okay, yep, Clayton come on and said Colton. He didn't want to be misrepresented there, so he came on. He said he
Oh
hacked
yeah,
your
good
account.
darn. Yeah,
So,
you know how brothers are.
right. And I know that's that mare there. That's at Congress. You use that in advertising. So she's got a nice front
Yeah.
end, and that's a picture of Colton walking out of the arena probably. And Yeah.
Yeah, we were really tickled. He actually got third overall in the youth mare class, and we were just thrilled because she was just so green. And like I said, we'd only had her about a month,
Right.
so we were thrilled with her. And she's a sweetheart. We're real excited about
Are
her.
you going to breed her eventually?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Eventually, she'll be in our broodmare band, and the plans are to breed her to Gunner.
Okay. How
That
tall do
would
you
be
think she's
great.
going to be? Is she a 3-year-old? She's 4 now, right? This year?
Yeah, she just turned 4, and she's measuring about 55 and a half.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
she'll be a big mare.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She'll be a good cross with Gunner. So, gonna
Those
have a
will
lot
be
of
great.
kiddo tough in there. It should be born with its head down, just loping around the mare. That's how it'll
Mhm.
be born.
Yep.
So, I
And
gotta.
this mare, yeah, and this mare is really, really good legged, really
Right.
good in the front end. So we're excited.
I think I'm on the gelding now. It's a picture with all the ribbons and trophies at the Congress. And 'cause he
Yeah,
has
yeah.
the blue eye. Yeah, that's one hot chip, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one hot chip.
Yeah.
That's our blue-eyed boy. Yep.
Right. He's a well-known
We
POA.
had- Yeah, he is. And we've really gone and done some new things with him. When the Bears had him, he was primarily a Western horse, and he really has excelled in the hunt seat. I mean, just phenomenal in the hunt seat. I love him in the hunt seat.
Cool.
And then we actually taught him to drive,
Okay.
and yeah, that was it's been a lot of fun.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. We're probably going to end your segment with driving because I know that's very important to you, and it is to the
Yeah.
breed too to keep it alive. So,
Mhm.
oh, there it is.
Yep.
You probably can't see it yet, but there's a picture. It's got a background with lightning and an orange sky.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
you in the cart. So that's a very
yeah.
cool picture. And
Well, we had a pretty amazing Congress last year. I ended up winning the 45 and over, and then the non-pro walk jog all around. So,
Okay.
and then Clayton, he won the driving in the youth, and so we had some pretty nice awards and a lot of fun.
right.
And Chuck just was such a trooper. He just, he's really one of a kind.
Well, he's got a great top line for driving. You know what I mean? I think he's just smooth. He's a smooth pony, and he's just got that look. He's the type of horse that just
Yeah.
looks through the bridle or whatever, the harness, too. And yeah, definitely. So, okay, now
He's
I think
fun.
the last picture I got here, I was going to kind of tease you because you have so many ribbons up on your stall curtains that you can't see your name of your farm. So,
Oh.
I guess that's
Yeah,
a good
well,
thing.
Pretty good thing. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
good thing.
Was that at Congress in Tulsa this year? Is that where that was taken?
It was.
Yeah.
It was, and it was really neat. My mom hasn't been to a big show traveling with me for probably 20 years, to be honest. And my husband teaches at a college here in Ohio, and he signed up to teach summer courses and wasn't going to be able to leave and go with us.
Okay.
So I asked my mom to come, and I told her she has to come back this year because this was the best Congress, and we had the best luck. I said, Mom, you've got to come back.
She's a good
And
luck
it was-
charm now, yeah.
Exactly. So she actually hadn't been to any POA shows. I mean, she, had seen how we'd done, but she
Right.
had never been to any. And she was so impressed with the quality of
Right.
POA.
Right.
Was just really blown away. And, she just thought everyone was so friendly and so nice and just really enjoyed herself. And she's looking forward to coming back this upcoming year.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I used to
Yeah.
tell people when I was trying to get people in POAs, or if they would say, like, I'd go to some place and they'd never been to the show before. They might have been to the sale in Iowa, the national sale, but not the show. And they'd say, well, this is one of the best POAs. Or I'd say, you need to go to the show. Go to the national show. Even if you don't show anything, just go and watch and then compare,
It's impressive.
Yeah, and it helps you learn and help you get better too, because then you see, it's not always about, if you don't win, it's fine because you can see what you're up against then. And yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
The quality is mind blowing.
Yeah.
And I just think they get better every year.
Oh, they do. And then you get to meet people all over the country too at that show. So that's the cool thing about
We
it.
do.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think our first year we were there, we were right across from Samantha Walker from Arizona. And we're like, oh my gosh, these people are from Arizona. Oh my gosh, those people are from California. Wow. We were just, wow, this is so neat.
Right.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, you're from a state that had a good history in POAs. I mean, of course, the national show has been there before in Ohio and Columbus. It was in Columbus in '85. And
wow.
yeah, Millard Fisher, who's our second feature, he was actually the co-chair of that show in '85. So, but there was some great breeders from Ohio, like the Fishers and Olin, Patsy Ziegler, and in Pennsylvania and the East has a big story in POAs. It's just not as big now, especially east of you, kind of. The clubs are not as big as they used to be. But, hopefully we build things up. California is the same way. There used to be 30, 40 stallions standing in California, if you can believe that.
Wow.
So, now there's probably just a handful. So, yeah.
Well,
thanks,
even
Jane.
even the short amount of time that we've been in the association, we show a lot in Indiana, and that club has just grown leaps and bounds in the past 4 years. I mean,
Right.
it's really taken off. So I think that people see the value of first of all, spending time with your family.
Right.
So important. We are so spread thin doing all these activities, but POA brings us together,
That's
and
right.
and it gives us family time, and that's really, really important.
Right.
And the POA is such a versatile horse that, you might have one pony and you might have two kids showing it, or maybe you have a parent and a child showing it. They can do all different kinds of events. You don't need three horses to do, or
Right.
to do all these different events. You just need one.
But there is
So,
things
I
for
think
everybody,
people-
yeah. Just like your
Yeah.
oldest son, he can show a halter, and then your other son enjoys the other things. You drive, well, your sons drive too, but, now you might start showing babies. That's going to be another cool,
Yeah.
you need a lot of
Yeah.
patience, but it's cool to show babies. So, one of the
It
things,
is.
sometimes we get bogged down thinking we're competing against like AQHA because that's a monster. You grew up in quarter horse, you know how big that is. I mean, their office has their own zip code in Amarillo. That's
Yeah.
how big. But even Icelandic and Tinker and Welsh and the other pony breeds. Is Doug Sorrell, who's watching tonight, he gave a speech one year at the convention, and he said, "Don't get worried about the other breeds. You're competing against soccer and band and volleyball and stuff like that. The plays and everything. They're, like you said, kids are so involved in everything, and a lot of our POA kids are so talented at many things." And the families are involved in so many things that's our true competition is just other events, not other equestrian stuff, so much.
That's right.
Because the
That's
POAs
right.
is a great breed and a great club, but there's only so much time on the calendar, So,
That's right, and it does make it hard. I will say, though, I was just talking with a friend of mine, and she had, I guess she was maybe at the AQHA convention, I think.
That just happened,
or maybe
yeah.
she was, okay, so so she was at the AQHA convention, and she was saying how they were really concerned about how they were going to get more people involved because the numbers are going down so drastically.
Right.
And I think one of the things that, like you said, you've got the competition from so many other avenues. It's just not going to other breeds.
Right.
The other good thing I think that POA has done is I think they're very conscientious of trying to keep prices at least at somewhat of an affordable level, and still be able to offer really great awards.
Right.
I know there's a lot of planning that they've done to do that, but I think that's also been a real good way of trying to keep families involved.
Right. And POAs is good at sponsoring themselves because we're not a huge organization, so we can't get the huge companies, the huge sponsorships. We've tried, and we've got a few, kind of a little bit, but not the huge sponsorships. So we sponsor our own classes, and we do stuff like that, and we donate to the scholarship fund. We have a great scholarship fund, and so that, you're right, and that's just part of the POA group. Is to keep that going, and because like you say, that national show is impressive. I mean, I know the CEO of the Appaloosa Club came one year when it was in Missouri, and he was just kind of speechless because he had no idea what he was walking into. How well run it was and how many entries they had. Our entries were pretty big, and he couldn't believe that there was that many. So it is impressive.
Right. It is. It's very impressive. And I think you were talking about how we have so many other avenues that people can go in. Like, you were talking about how Colton likes to do the halter. And he is riding now, too, but he does enjoy the halter.
Right.
And Clayton, he just loves the driving. I mean, that's his favorite event. He loves driving.
Okay.
But it's really nice because we also have, I think having a 2-year-old in-hand event is really great because there's a lot of opportunity there to be able to get those babies out and bring them along. And for some people who don't necessarily want to ride, maybe they just want to do the in-hand events. And I think that's a huge growing area.
Right.
And then they were talking about, adding like more cattle or more ranch riding type courses, classes. And I think that's a great avenue.
Yeah, more venues, and that's popular right now, and it's going to stay popular for a long time.
I think so, too.
And POAs used to do things like they used to do calf dobbing and things like that back in the day. It just got so hard to move cattle around, and and the POAs kind of shifted from farmers and ranchers to people that were more stable-minded, and they didn't have cattle to bring around as easy. So, but ranch events, you can do a lot of things without the cattle and stuff, and like ranch trail and stuff. So I think it's just another avenue, just like the in-hand classes. They weren't around 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Or they just started. So even when Lunge Line first came in, that was popular, and then it took a little pressure off the 2-year-olds too. And you could do one or the other.
Absolutely.
Right. And then families can see 2-year-olds lunging and in-hand trail and stuff, and they can look at prospects more than just a baby now. Instead of maybe buying a baby, right, you can buy a 2-year-old that's going to be ready to go next year, so, yeah.
Well, and that's with Gunner. I buy him as a long yearling, and Patty had shown him a little bit as a yearling, not a lot. And I bought him, and we campaigned him as a 2-year-old, but he's small. So, he wasn't going to be able to be ridden at that time, especially not by an adult like myself. So we showed him in the 2-year-old in-hand events, and it was great for him. I think it's a great avenue.
I do too. Yeah, I absolutely do. And I'm glad you're supporting driving because, like Tracy said, it's very, very important. When Tracy and I grew up in the 80s and stuff, it was way a bigger part of POAs then than it is now. It affected the high point more. I'm not sure how much it does now, but it was just, you've seen a lot of POAs driving. And that's just, I like it being a versatile breed. AQHA says they're the most versatile breed, and I always say, well, they can be the most versatile breed, but we have the most versatile horse, because one pony.
I agree 100%.
Right. You need 6 quarter horses to do, what we do with a pony sometimes. So, they bred them so, that hunters are hunters now, and the pleasure, it's not Western and English anymore. It's hunter, and there's 17 hands, and then you have the pleasure, the impulse, and all that, or whatever bloodline you want to follow. But and then, of course, halter is a whole industry in its own, and reining and cutting, they're all industries on their own, standalone industries, right? Where POA, you can, I know there's some horses that are gamers, and there's some that are pleasure that never go in the games, and we do have a few POAs that just do halter, but mainly they do everything, and that's what I like, the High Point and the Supremes. We can't let that Supreme go, that's a cool deal. So.
Oh, I agree too.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, the kids that go through the POA program, those kids can ride. I mean, they can really, really ride. It makes a great horseman by doing all those different events.
Right. So, well,
I love the driving.
Yeah, I'm glad you do, and I'm glad I had that picture on here to promote it. That's a cool picture with the graphic in the background.
I've had a lot of people, I've had a lot of people come over and talk to me this past couple of years about the driving and where did I get my cart and how did I get my harness and how did I learn to do this? And I always tell myself, well, my best friend has a Tennessee Walker, and she it drives, so I called her over, and my other friend has a miniature, and she drives it, so she came over, and we figured out how to hook this stuff up. I bought the cart off of Craigslist, and I bought the harness off of Facebook Marketplace.
Wow.
And we put it all together, and I watched some videos on YouTube.
This is a modern story about an ancient thing, driving is, this is cool. YouTube and Craigslist and all that.
Yeah. I'm like, we just figured it out.
Right.
And that's the other thing I love about this POAs is that they have the temperament in mind that you can kind of be a novice at doing it, and and they tolerate it. You know, they're like, all right, well, I don't know what you're doing back there, but I'll try.
Right.
And but yeah, that's just kind of a hodgepodge of stuff that we did to get the driving going. And I'm so glad that we did. And I think that we're seeing, especially in the adults, a lot of interest in the adults. It's really fun if somebody has, say, arthritis, where they, you know, they're not going to be able to ride as well, or maybe they can't lead a halter horse.
Right.
You can drive your horse.
You can drive.
It's a great option. Yeah. And you can drive. You could be 75 years old, and if you want to drive a horse, you can drive your horse.
Right.
So I think it's a good class, and it's a lot of fun.
It is. Oh, it's fun to watch too. It is fun to watch, and it is a good class, and it's just good for the breed to have it there. So I'm glad that you're one of the people that's keeping it alive. There is families in POAs that's been around a long time that are keeping it alive too. And I know it's a lot of work to throw that cart up on the trailer and to bring your equipment and stuff, but you know, and we had Kiddo Tough. That's what we did first. We had him broke to drive, and then he was broke to ride, which he never showed in a show just because he became a valuable sire right away. But Dad said, we're going to break him to drive, and he had somebody do it. And then he said, then we're going to break him to ride too. So, you know, we can see how he goes. And so that's always important. So.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, think about all the groundwork that you do to get them to drive. All those things do play a factor in how you're going to teach your horse to ride. So
Exactly.
it's a great way to start them.
Yeah. Exactly. So, well, I'm kind of winding down on my time here, Lori. So do you have anything else you want to add that I forgot? Or
Well, you know, it's really interesting that you're going to have the Fishers on.
Right.
And it's really kind of cool how that connection is made through Gunner. But I think I mentioned to you, and I think the Fishers remember, but I actually met them when I was a teenager, like maybe 13 or so.
Okay.
Because I showed quarter pony circuit. We had a small quarter horse, and I showed quarter pony circuit.
Okay.
And they would, some of their horses that didn't have color, they would hardship in and show in the quarter pony circuit. So I actually had met them years and years ago. And doing that, and then here we come full circle. We're all still in Ohio. We're about an hour apart.
Right. Well, they're north of Columbus, right? And you're south of Columbus.
Yep, I'm south and they're north.
Okay.
And here we come together, and now I've got this stallion that's related to their great hair. And it's just kind of neat how that happened.
It is really neat.
Bringing these families together is kind of nice.
It is cool.
Yeah.
That's why I put you two on the same episode. I'm trying to do that more and more. And like I say it every week, but Black Hand and Beyond, it's the older programs and the newer programs put together is what I'm trying to do here. So, you know, I want kids involved, like your son, one of your sons is watching tonight, or maybe they both are, but one's commenting, even Clayton. So that's cool. I want teenagers, and I had Levi on as a guest a couple weeks ago. He's 10 years old, you know, so I mean, and then I got 80-year-olds that are watching too. So, you know,
I know. Isn't that neat? I think that these horses, these POAs, I mean, they just, once they're in your blood, they're in your blood.
Oh, they are.
And they are. I couldn't imagine going to any other breed after having them. I just think they're fantastic.
That's why I do this, because it's a lot cheaper than having 10 broodmares and a couple stallions and, you know, a trailer. And I just can't. I mean, I make a good living, but I can't do all that right now. And, you know, I miss it so much. I just talk about them. So I get off cheap.
Well, you know what? We can all enjoy them. That's for sure.
Right, for sure. So, all right. Well, sit back and enjoy the Fisher segment, Lori. And again, thanks for being on. They're not going to be on. They're not going to be on live, but they let me talk about them, so that's fine. Not everybody wants to come on sometimes because you know it can be tough. You were a great guest, and we didn't have to interview or anything, so that's good. So,
well, I appreciate you letting me come on and talk about my view of the new view of the POA.
The new view, yeah.
So, the new view.
The perspective, yeah.
Oh, and one last thing. With Doug, you can't live in Ohio and not have shown under Doug at some point in time.
Oh, really?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I think
hopefully
he's
he's a
judged me
good
a few
judge,
times.
because for years and years I heard him say, seventh place under the good judge, second place under the good judge. That was one of his lines he always used. He was full of one-liners and about horses. And that one time he said this one colt took first and a nothing. And he said, that guy's already at the airport, the judge that didn't use him. He's like, they got him out of here. So it's funny. But he probably don't even
I can
remember
hear-
saying that. But so.
Well, that's funny. Well, thank you again for
Okay.
having me on, and I can't wait to hear the rest.
All right, Lori. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so that was Lori Wilson Knight from Orient, Ohio. And thanks for being a guest tonight. We really have never spoken. We've talked a lot back and forth, typed on a private messenger, so on Facebook, of course. So I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of people that I've been talking about and talking to, like Levi and stuff, and then a lot of my great friends that I've known for years, like Dean and Tommy Tomlin and Mike and all those guys in Tulsa. I love going to Tulsa, and I'll probably go to that show even if they move it somewhere else. So I just love going to the national show. So somebody just said best money can buy. Yeah, best judge. He might have said that himself. Best judge money can buy. So it's really an Ohio theme tonight. So that's pretty cool. We are going to move on to the Fisher family now. Of course, the Fishers, Millard and Nancy and their daughter Kelly Pittman have been in POAs for a long time. This is one of their early POAs in 1982. Clear Run Clipper. I included this because Clear Run Farms is the name of their farms, and later, the last 15, 20 years or so, they've used the CRF prefix. When the three letters got really popular, they turned it to CRF. So they didn't use it so much when they were using Smoky Blackburn. They pretty much named his foals Blackburn, and they had some other famous foals that they didn't use the CRF. But this was kind of cool. It was, I think, probably in the 82 sale, and when she was a baby. And of course, Prince Shasta is an own son of Prince Plotted, so they bred an own son of a famous Appaloosa to a granddaughter of Blackhand. So that's pretty cool breeding even back then. And that was Clear Run Clipper. So they were nice enough to send me 19 pictures and handwritten write-ups on every picture. And then I went through catalogs and stuff and found a bunch of pictures. So hopefully I do this family justice tonight. Get the popcorn if you haven't already, or the chocolate almonds, because we're going to be here for a while talking about this great family, the Fishers from Delaware, Ohio. Probably an hour this episode will last. So one of the first really good POAs they purchased was Smoky Blackburn, and this is when people found out about Smoky Blackburn when he was a yearling before they purchased him. Carl and Nancy Oz and Lee Mooney, their friend that had the Lemar Ranch and Arena in Granite Falls, Minnesota, bred for this horse. Carl and Nancy bred one of their mares, Rock Ridge Smoky, to Mooney's quarter horse, Mr. Blackburn 28. I got to see him in person. He was a really nice quarter horse. Of course, Blackburn really close up on the bottom side, and then Pocohuino on the top side. I believe Poco Eagle was a grandson of Pocohuino. So you look at those numbers there of Poco Eagle and May Blackburn, there's some digits missing to what we're used to now. Look at that, only 5-digit numbers, 60,000 and 70-some thousand for the sire, or grandsire and granddam of Smoky Blackburn. So this is when people really kind of seen him. He was at the 77 sale as a yearling. They did no sale him that year. They had showed him a little bit, I think in Minnesota, maybe Dakota, and they just didn't sell him in 1977, but they did reconsign him to the national sale, and this is his lot right here, lot 112. He didn't sell for a lot of money, but he was a 4-year-old stallion. I don't think he'd ever bred. If you look at the owner's statement, it's the identical owner's statement as when he was a yearling. So they didn't promote him or push him much, his breeders, and at this time he was Lee Mooney Estate. He was owned by just them in Granite Falls. So I always thought Smoky Blackburn was a model stallion. I thought he was taller than what he is. I think he ended up being shorter than what it even says in this here. But, he had pretty cool breeding and stuff. and he did make a family for himself with the Fishers. Now, he didn't have many foals. The POA office did pull a report on him. I want to thank Lindsay, and the POA office, by the way, is doing a really great job keeping on top of things. I want to give them a shout out. Anytime I ask for something, they are always quick, same day or next day for my request, so I appreciate that. But anyway, he had under 20 registered foals, if you can believe that, and he lived a long life. And they just moved on. He threw a lot, or he produced a lot of daughters. Not many sons that went on to be stallions, but his daughters is what made an impact in the breed after the Fishers started using him. So here's a little close-up of this. This is right outside the Lemar Arena. I've shown there many times as a kid. There's pictures of me with double shot with that same post right in the middle of double shot, so that's kind of cool. That's the parking lot there in Granite Falls, Minnesota. So this is when he was a 4-year-old when they took him to the sale. I believe that's when the Fishers purchased him. And here's a picture of him after he got in Ohio. And here he is. They did advertise him quite a bit in the Ohio sales. He was on the cover a couple years in a row. They did show him too and made him a Supreme Champion, Smoky Blackburn. First he became an ROM champion. He was #1 in the nation. There's a little closer up picture, a good Gary Hamilton picture there. He was a pretty photogenic stallion. And there's another Hamilton photo of him with Kelly. And of course, he was just a little different breeding. You know, he had some POA breeding on the bottom, but he had foundation quarter horse before that was the buzzword. Better get my picture back on here. You know, the foundation quarter horse became the buzzword in the 90s and 2000s, but in the 70s and the 80s, the Blackburn and the Poco Bueno was the same stuff they're calling foundation now, and that's what he was on the top side. So, and here's another good professional shot of him. Real smooth stallion. I always liked his hip. I liked his length of croup and everything. And again, the Fishers didn't push him a lot. There he is, Clear Run POAs, Millard and Nancy Fisher. They talk about him a little bit. I think he had a great disposition for him, real easygoing. They mentioned Poco Bueno in there and his athletic ability. And here, I'll go to the screen again. I like this little ad here they put in the Ohio sale catalog. He made it to the top, #1 halter stallion in Ohio 1982 and #1 halter stallion in the nation 1982. And then they mentioned he's entered in the select sire futurity. So at that time he was ROM and halter Smoky Blackburn. But like I say, he did become a Supreme Champion. So one of his first foals, she was probably the third or fourth foal he ever had, was the filly Cena Blackburn. Again, I think 12 or 13 of his foals were fillies. The rest were colts, mainly geldings. And but Cena Blackburn went to Minnesota for a while. The Canton family had her, and then she really made a mark in POAs when the Kennedys purchased her, John and Bunny Kennedy. Now, the two families that promoted Blackburn the most through their purchases was besides the Fishers, of course, was the Kennedy family and then the Spencer family from here in Oklahoma. They've had quite a few Blackburns and even a full sister to Smoky Blackburn. And then they've had some daughters and now great-granddaughters and everything. We're going to see some pictures of those too. Thanks to Rosalind, sent me a bunch of pictures. So, but Cena Blackburn really made her mark with on the PAL program. And one of the funny things is, if you've ever got a progeny report from the POA office, it shows the foals, but then if they had a foal, it shows them. It's like a science project, you know, it goes over and it just shows the names and it'll keep going over. So it might take a while to get through all the foals because like Cena Blackburn was the third one listed. Well, then her foals and Grand-Get and Great-Grand-Get took up 8 pages. There's 10 pages total of Black Smoky Blackburn relatives, and about 8 of them are related to Cena Blackburn. So she had a huge impact on the line, and this is her as a baby in the sales catalog. This was her picture out of that catalog when she sold. And Fisher sent me the colored photo. That's special right there. That's Cena Blackburn as a baby. And of course, her big claim to fame, she produced a lot of great PAL babies, but PAL Chip and Putt is her most famous one, I would say. This is her mother. I wanted to throw this in here. WSF top of the line. This is when Fishers decided to consign her, probably 85 or 86 at the national sale. And of course, she was a series chief on the bottom and Appaloosa sire. So this is the mother to Cena Blackburn. But here is Pal Chip and Putt. Of course, he made a huge name for himself, became a supreme champion just like his grandsire. Of course, he helped put Santee Cody on the map for the Kennedys. Pat Burton showed him very successfully. He was the national grand champion at the international show as a yearling. This is him when he got a little older, and a great sire. So, and then him and then his full sister, Pal Jamaica, had a few spot stallion named Pal Cavalcade. And both those stallions are pretty high up on the list. Let me check my notes here. I got to trust myself. I think I know about where they are, but let's see. Live TV. Anyway, oh, that's right in front of me. So Pal Cavalcade has 41 wins, not counting this last show. The guy that updates the list hasn't done his job yet. That's me. I didn't do 2021 yet. But from the history of the show till the start of the National Show Congress until 2020, Pal Cavalcade's ranked 32nd with 41 wins as a sire. This stallion right here is ranked, he's tied for 40th with 36 wins. Now that's not counting the last show. I'm pretty sure Cavalcade had some wins. But here is Cavalcade that I've been talking about. So his mother is a full sister to Pal Chip and Putt, and that would be Pal Jamaica. And we'll go over some of those names too. There's been other ones. There was quite a few full siblings that the Kennedys crossed Cena Blackburn to Santee Cody for a lot of years. So here's Pal Cavalcade when he got a little older. I believe he's in Missouri right now with Cameron Russell. Of course, he was with the Spencers for quite a while. He's a good-looking stallion. Of course, the Sudden Impulse, I believe, is his sire. But we're talking about the Smoky Blackburn part tonight. And then Rosalind was nice enough to send me quite a few pictures here. So let me check my picture file here. I'm pretty sure this is the Dame. Yep, this is the Dame by Pal Cavalcade. And she's also out of Blackburn's Missy Lou, I believe. I might have that wrong. But she was shown by Lindsay Peaton, and now she's I believe she's a broodmare back at Spencer's place. So she's a Cavalcade. There's Arthur, Blaine Arthur's son. And he's on, this is the player. Of course, that's Kelton Arthur. He's a lot more grown up now. He's a great cattle showman and a good POA shower too. When he comes to the POA shows, he's just a great showman. But that's him on a Cavalcade baby. He's a supreme champion, the player. Let me put just the screen on here. So, and then, of course, he was also shown by Emily Kauk from Western Oklahoma. And he became, like I say, a supreme champion. And then we have, I know this POA without even looking it up. This is Sky's the Limit, another Cavalcade. Won a lot of national titles, as you can see here. And then I believe this is Stroke of Midnight. Hopefully I have these pictures in order. And you just see the Smoky Blackburn, you know, what they did early on. You know, this stuff is still winning today. Like that last picture was just from the current show. But this is from a mare that was born in 1983, Cena Blackburn. And this is all thanks to her through the PAL program and then the Spencers program. Of course, this POA here is one of the best going. Madison Dolan rode her to a lot of titles, all that swag right there. That's just one show. And of course, that's Lily LaBelle. So she's won the versatility. She's a supreme champion, multiple Congress champion. Again, Maddie has won a lot of stuff with her. So, and then here is the full sister to Smoky Blackburn, and that is Blackburn's Missy. So the Fishers liked Smoky Blackburn so much they ended up purchasing his mother actually, and we're going to see another foal mother produced by a different stallion. So we'll see 3 foals by that POA mare, but this is another one here. This is Blackburn's Missy. So and that's Blaine Spencer. Of course, she's Blaine Arthur, now Secretary of Agriculture for the state of Oklahoma, first woman to have that title. I'm very proud of that, and she grew up in POA, so a great family. Spencer's from Chickasha. Of course, they have a lot of ties to Stillwater as well with OSU. So, and this is one of their current brood mares right now that goes back to Smoky Blackburn. So I believe this is, let's see, I think she's going to be mad at me if I get the name wrong, but the Hostess, I believe, is this mare, and she's out of Blackburn's Missy Lou, who is out of Truly Blackburn. That's another connection the Spencers had with Smoky Blackburn, is Truly Blackburn. So, and we'll see a picture of her later on from the Fishers when they had her, and then when she got older too. So I just wanted to give credit to some of the Smoky Blackburns that went out there. We're going to get back to the Fishers part of the story now, since they are our featured breeder tonight. And again, I want to thank Lori Wilson Knight from Ohio for joining us earlier. That was a great segment on their program and their show program and their breeding program. So this is another early Fisher baby here, and this would be Bugs Blackburn, and this was it was the Mideast Regional Champion when it was a baby. And then here is Blackburn Sweetheart, and this one was out of Toys Gypsy Heart, who had quite a few babies by Smoky Blackburn, including Truly Blackburn, who we were just talking about. And this baby was second at the Mideast Regional when it was in Michigan, and then it was fourth in the Select Sire Futurity. So another nice baby. I always liked the hips the Smoky Blackburns had. Like I said about his hip, I think that was that Pocono and Blackburn breeding. They just had solid structured hips. And of course, this is one of the more famous ones. This is Truly Blackburn here. That's Kelly. This is at the 92 regional, Southeast Regional in Tennessee. And Truly Blackburn became a Supreme Champion, and we'll talk about some of her foals here too. But she's Smoky Blackburn and Toys Gypsy Heart. And here she is when she was older. A lot of kids. She carried a lot of kids to titles, and you see this here. It looks like a endurance or trail here. Pretty cool picture. Okay, so this is her full sister. Maybe wasn't quite as famous as Truly Blackburn. Correct me if I'm wrong. She was an ROM and halter, but this is just a Blackburn. And again, there's Kelly and her folks. Kelly rode a lot of her folks' POAs, a lot of the Blackburns, and then of course later the CRF POAs by the Subtle Impulse, or out of the Subtle Impulse mare. And if anybody remembers this mare, just go ahead and chime in. That's why it's live, and you can mention anything you want about these. So now I'm going to talk about some of the other ones they raised besides the Blackburns. Of course, the Smoky Blackburn really got them going, kind of, especially in Ohio. I need to say too, Millard and Nancy are tireless promoters. They probably promoted the POA breed more than they even promoted theirself. Like I said before, Millard helped with the Ohio show in 1985. And I know he did a lot for keeping the Ohio Club alive in the 80s and the 90s. He was a director and things like that. So they just were tireless promoters of the POA breed, and still are, besides being great breeders. So here's a filly that kind of slipped under the radar a little bit. Anzanita Rose. I know a lot of people probably never heard of her, remember her. They sold her at the 1984 sale. Again, they didn't get a lot of money for their stuff back then, but they were bringing in nice stuff. A lot of people didn't know them at the time, and as you can tell, they were showing already. She was a baby. They showed her. She had some reserve and junior championships, but she went on to make history because Pat Hughes from Minnesota, I believe it was the first JPFC or whatever they called it then, the 19 and over. I think it was JPFC. He won the very first one on this Fisher bred filly, Anzanita Rose. And there he is, Pat, at the Indianapolis Futurity and Sale. The year that happened, it would have been in probably 87, 88, something like that. And there's Clyde Goff, the executive secretary at the time, with the trailer in the background and the big buckle. And that's Pat Hughes from Hugo, Minnesota, winning it, the JPFC. And Tracy, I'm pretty sure it was the first one ever. And a lot of people don't realize the Fishers bred that filly. Now her sire was East Acres Gold Bar, who Chris Woods brought to Ohio, and he was bred by Ray Peets from Spencer, Iowa, and then of course he was registered by the East Acres guy, who is Max Nebergall from Tipton, Iowa. But then when Chris Woods was promoting him in Ohio before he was gelded, the Fishers bred the mother to Smoky Blackburn, who they'd purchased, to him, and that's where this filly came from, this roan filly, Anzanita Rose. So here's another one that it became a famous POA, a POA ROM champion for sure, and this is Chock Full of Grace. So Impressible Chock was one of their stallions they used for a while, quarter horse stallion. They also had an impressive bred stallion that they used for a little while they had Smoky Blackburn. But there's Kelly again, says Futurity winner, nice trophy there at the national show in Tulsa. So Chock Full of Grace, I know she went on to do a lot of things. She was a really nice moving mare. And here's one of the early ones they consigned to the sale. I just included it in here. They always like nice heads and necks on their stuff, and you see that in this filly here, JR's Frigid Lady. I just threw that in there because I did a little research. Here's one that sold to Oklahoma, Steal Your Heart. She was a Doc's Tough Cookie, again another Ohio stallion that they took advantage and used. And there's the Toys Gypsy Heart mare that they, that of course is truly Blackburn's mother, and just a Blackburn's mother. Here's that other stallion I was talking about, Golden Impression, AQHA. So they had some impressive stuff, and then of course they switched to Impulse when Pleasure became more the standard. And here's the mare that, you know, Smoky Blackburn, what he did for him in the 80s, this mare did for him the last 20 years or so. And this is Subtle Impulse. She's an Appaloosa mare that was short enough to be registered as a POA. And this is one of her babies. This is CRF Follow Your Impulse, who's the mother to the stallion we were talking about earlier, Lori Wilson Knight stallion, LP, Right on Target. So again, if you're just joining us tonight live, we are talking about the Fisher program right now from Delaware, Ohio. Earlier we had Lori Wilson Knight from her program, and her sons are showing POAs. They're just south of Delaware in Orient, Ohio, so it's kind of an Ohio themed show tonight. The Fishers are in the Hall of Fame. Millard went in the Hall of Fame, I believe, in 2009. This mare really put them in a different direction and back on track with famous POAs, and then they started using a prefix that they hadn't used as much before, and that's the CRF for Clear Run Farm. So here's a Get a Sire for Doc's Rough and Tough. They bred that mare we just looked at to Doc's Rough and Tough for about as long as they could, for a long time. And all three of these are full siblings bred by the Fishers, and they won the award for Dean Damon stallion, Doc's Rough and Tough. He won the Get a Sire class in 2007. And on the far left there you have CRF Go Zippin' Tough, and then in the middle is CRF Move on Impulse, and then of course CRF Impulsive Diva, a great mare that became a grand champion mare. All these are national champions, and they won Get a Sire for Rough and Tough, and we'll see pictures of every one of these now. Again, thanks to the Fishers and some other people that sent me pictures as well, so I'm going to try to get as many as I can. And this is the one that was on the left. This is CRF Go Zippin' Tough, and there she is again. I want to try to mention the kids here if I can. There's three kids in this family that show this one. I'm sorry if I don't get all the names in, but anyway, there's a gaming picture there. And of course, this is a shorter POA, but it won quite a bit of stuff. Okay, so we have Keegan, Landry, and Michaela. I think Michaela's the one in the flags there. So them were all the people that were connected in those three pictures to CRF Go Zippin' Tough. Okay, now we go back. It's ironic that Bunny Kennedy's in this picture. Not really ironic, but of course her Cena Blackburn mare really helped bring attention to Smokey Blackburn and the Fishers early program. Well, when John Kennedy passed away, Bunny sponsored the Triad, the John Kennedy Memorial Triad, and the Fishers, I believe, won it at least once. In this picture, they might have won it twice, I think. And this is the mare that would go on to be grand as a 2-year-old. As Dean just said, very nice mare. CRF Impulsive Diva. I remember watching her go grand in, I think, 2006 is when it was. And again, these are all by Doc's Rough and Tough and out of Subtle Impulse, the Appaloosa mare they found. And it really helped change the POAs when they introduced her into POAs. It really helped Rough and Tough too. Here's the full brother. Of course, this is Move on Impulse. I think he won as a baby. Here he is winning. Again, the John Kennedy Yearling Triad champion, it says here. So they both did it. And I'm pretty sure he won the international show as a baby. So, and then there he is in the picture with Bunny and the Kennedy family. And there's Kelly and, of course, Millard. So that's the same horse we just seen, just a little different shot there, celebrating the Triad. And here he is with Kelly under saddle. Of course, we all recognize that if you've been in POAs for a few years. That's the Coliseum in Des Moines, Iowa. And here he is at that Futurity. Looks like there's a belt buckle there, Futurity champion. Kelly does a great job with POAs and with her family's homebred POAs. They're always well represented. Okay, so this is cool. We're getting some different pictures here, but again, these are all related. They're all out of the same mare. So this is at the Eastern Classic, CRF Cha-Ching. So I believe Allison Littlefield shows this mare now, but this is her when she was probably a yearling. I know she was a yearling in this picture at the Classic in '09. Again, she's Rough and Tough and Subtle Impulse. She's won stuff. Taylor Meehan won a lot of stuff with her at Futurities and Congress both. She's ROM and Halter. And then, like I say, Allison Littlefield is showing her now. She's a beautiful mare. This is a beautiful picture there. I love the roses and the red hat. And just look at that mare. I mean, if you didn't know that was a POA, you know, that just looks like a beautiful horse. Beautiful headed, just a nice representation of our breed there. So that's CRF Cha-Ching. So now we move to another filly. The Fishers made a huge impact on POAs they have so far with their fillies, with their fillies that became mares, not only good show mares, but great brood mares as well. And this is CRF Rough Tough Trudy. Again, Rough and Tough, and the Impulse mare. And she became a producer. They kept her, I believe, and she became the producer of CRF Silver Mercedes. And there he is, winning a big check, Futurity champion. Of course, that's Kelly again. And then he's still currently being shown. I think he won some swag at the convention the other day. And this is him here with Kristen Schaefer. So one of the top POAs showing right now for sure. CRF Silver Mercedes. He's by the Silver Kid, and out of CRF Rough Tough Trudy. So one of the Fisher bred POAs that I don't have a picture of, and he doesn't carry the prefix, so some people might not realize Millard and Nancy bred him, and that's Silver's Wee Kid. He's a Silver Kid. So they use Rough and Tough, and they've also used the Silver Kid. And the Silver's Wee Kid, I think he was in Iowa for quite a while, and he became a champion for sure. And he's another product from the Fishers. So we move on to another Rough and Tough Impulse cross here, and this is CRF Follow Your Impulse. And of course, this is the mother to LP Right on Target and Doc's Chocolate Delight. Two really good POAs, both kind of different looking, because one's they're bred different, the Silver Kid, and then of course Doc's Chocolate Impulse. She was a great looking show mare as well. She was reserve grand champion as a 2-year-old in St. Louis. And like I said earlier, she's at the pony farm with Jess Drish right now, producing babies. She's probably in full. But that cross just produces such beautiful POAs. I mean, she didn't win grand like her full sister, but she came close. She was reserve grand in this photo right here. So, and then this is another national champion out of that cross as a baby. and this is 2012. Of course, this is CRF Rockin' Rhythm, Rough and Tough to Subtle Impulse again. He was first in the weanlings at the St. Louis Congress. That's when it became the Congress, around that time. So another outstanding cross from them. And then here is a good representation for the mare. Once they made her a POA, she was eligible to show in, her foals were eligible to show for her and produce a dam, and that's what this picture represents. That baby we just seen, that's Millard holding that one on the left, and it's a yearling, of course. Then that's CRF Rockin' Rhythm, and then they brought out CRF Move on Impulse that we seen before. That one is a young POA, and that they won the Produce a Dam back in 13 in Lake St. Louis at the Congress for that mare. Of course, that mare had helped Rough and Tough win it, so it was fitting that she won Produce a Dam. So I want to go over, that's all the pictures I have, but don't leave me because I have a lot of information yet. I want to kind of go over some of these POAs I talked about a little bit. I have the list here, and again I want to thank the office. It's 10 pages, that's the 10th page. But I believe they sell these if you want to get a list of your stallion's prodigy. It's really good to do research and try to track them down to find out where the POAs went, or just to keep track of them. And according to this, which is, as official as it gets, he had 18 foals, Smoky Blackburn. The first one was Jody Delight, and then the second one was R. Sunny Spot. And then the third foal was Cena Blackburn. Well, of course, Cena Blackburn, even though she was born in 83, she was a show POA for a long time. So her first foal wasn't until 1995. Let's see, and that was Pal Blackburn. He didn't become that famous, Pal Blackburn. But then her second foal was in 97, and that was Pal Chippin' Putt. Well, the list of Chippin' Putts just go on and on forever. That's why he's one of the top sires on the list of Congress winners. And I mean, it literally goes for pages and pages, just the Chippin' Putts. So I don't want to bore you with all the ones, but you'd recognize a lot of these, of course. And then he's had a lot of sons and daughters that have produced, because like I see here, of course, the CHRs, and then the Wills, and the TXs, of course, for Pat Burton. And we're on page 6. We're still into them. We're getting salties now because of Chippin' Array. And then we finally get to page 7. And Pal Patrick's born in Pal Patrick was born in 2001. Yeah. And before that, we had Pal Charade. They called her Charlie, I believe. And she was owned by the Trout family in Indiana. She had My T, Charlie's Angel. That was a good show mare by Kiddo Tough. And then, of course, that mare had a couple foals, including the Marquee Kid. And then you had Pal Patrick. He was a solid gelding at birth. And then Pal Myra. And then out came Pal O'Chance. Again, this would be a full sister to Pal Chippin' Putt. So this would be a granddaughter of Smoky Blackburn, and an own daughter of Fisher's filly they bred, Cena Blackburn. Pal O'Chance had many POAs, and some of them had POAs. Then one of the later ones is Pal Jamaica, and Pal Jamaica ended up being, her first foal was Pal Cavalcade, and when he ended up being used by the Spencers in Chickasha, Oklahoma, of course, some of his foals, Red High Heels, Barely Legal, The Bachelor. I'm skipping through. I'm not mentioning everyone, just the ones I recognize. Sweet Cadence, Stroke of Midnight, Just Call Me, Lily LaBelle, as we mentioned earlier, All Everything, Champion Mare, Easy Cadence, Too Legit, After Midnight, and it just goes on and on. The Dame, Too Blue to Be True, just a whole bunch of them. So he made a huge impact with the Spencers. Again, he would be a Cena Blackburn grandson is what he is. So, and then we get down to the fourth one is Blackburn's Sweetheart, and the fifth foal registered by Smoky Blackburn was Truly Blackburn. And again, Truly Blackburn ended up with the Spencers. So you have 2 to 12 is one of the Spencers. You can always tell the Spencer's names a lot of times. And then they had Blackburn's Missy Lou. Of course, she was a 2001 mare. She was solid at birth. And then a lot of her foals. You know, the Spencers, I'm not picking on them, but they use the word "the" so much in their names that I think some people thought it was THE, like a prefix, but I'm just kidding. But anyway, here I'll show you Blackburn's Missy Lou. She had the Hustler, the Player, the Dealer, the Hostess, the Vixen, the Dame, the Candidate, and the Cajun Queen. So, you know, a lot of great ones there that went on to do stuff. And then, of course, Truly Blackburn, the Big Shooter, and Surf's Up. I remember Surf's Up winning stuff. The Big Shooter was a stallion for quite a while, and he had a list of like Caddo's Echo Star and some of those that went on to do good things. So list goes on and on. So you get to the very last page when you get 6 through 16. I guess he only had 16 to 18 registered foals. I don't think someone made this list, but that's when Just a Blackburn would be his 7th foal ever registered. And then some of the later ones maybe didn't go on to be as famous. But I would say the Fishers made a big impact with a nice little stallion there, Smoky Blackburn, with only having 16 registered foals. So that's pretty cool for sure. Again, I want to thank the Fishers for providing me with all these photos. And I'm glad I was able to do this show about them. And hopefully you learned quite a bit. I had a lot of notes here that I'm going over, so you know, from 1980 or so till now, they produced a lot of great POAs, and I just wanted to get out there some of the ones. When you use a prefix and you don't use a prefix, a lot of times the ones get forgotten that you didn't have a prefix on, like Silver's Wee Kid, Chock full of Grace, for sure. Anzanita Rose, I know a lot of people didn't realize the Fishers bred her. And then, of course, there's others. The Blackburns, a lot of people put that together because they had the stallions. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that little segment about the Fishers. Very well-deserving Hall of Fame family, Millard and Nancy, and then their daughter Kelly. Have done great things in POAs. I want to just talk about kind of some of the upcoming shows we're going to have. I'm trying to put together next week a Minnesota show featuring Leonard Lewis, and I'm hoping to talk about Lori Chrome's program as well, Dakota Chrome. It's in Minnesota, and she's breeding a lot of great DKs, POAs. So, and she has a connection there. I'm a Few Spot Dream, who she used for many years, is related to the Campbell's breeding program, of course. So I may talk about Bud and Birdie in that episode, but then I'll talk about Leonard Lewis in another episode as well. So he'll probably take up a whole episode, and that's coming up. And then on March 15th, we're going to do POAs that rock the 80s. And Susie Schultz Huff from Edina, Minnesota is going to be my guest that night. That's March 15th. That's going to be a cool one, especially if you're around 45 to 55 and you grew up in the 80s like Susie and I did. You know, we'll be talking about movies and songs and pop culture from that decade. And then, of course, the main thing we'll be talking about is the great POAs that are around in the 80s and some of the shows and just some of the kids that rode those POAs. We'll probably be talking about some of the farms and stuff too, but mainly the POAs that Susie showed against all across the country. Ashley McKenzie may be an in-studio guest sometime in March here, hopefully the 22nd. Towards the end of March, maybe the 29th, we're going to be talking about the JBJ's POAs. And then, of course, we have all kinds of stuff coming up. Lannons, Lammers, Cayugas, a lot of old history, a lot of great POA history. Don't forget the POA Cutest Foal contest. Monica and I are putting that together. She's going to help me a great deal on that. I'm hoping to get a lot of submissions. I might open it up for more than just this year, maybe have 2 categories like the past and then current foals. And it's basically going to be a contest. It might be a sponsored show, and then I'll buy an award for the winner or something like that. So some cool deal to remember it by. So it'll be the POA Podcasts Black Hand and Beyond Cutest Foal winner. So I'm looking forward to that. So again, I want to thank the Fishers for sending me pictures and information. I know it's not always easy to get that stuff gathered, especially right after the convention. And then Lori Wilson Knight for being a great guest tonight and learning more about her background and her program and future plans. Sounds like she's got some cool bred quarter horse mares there she's going to breed to her little homozygous stallion. So we look forward to seeing those. So I want to thank everybody that commented tonight. And again, watch all the other shows. I've been sharing some of the podcasts. This is the 34th one, so I'm proud of that. We have 34 podcasts now. 33 of them are pinned on the top of POA History Group. I still have people every day asking me, where do I find this? I can't find it. I can't find the link. It's on POA History Group. You have to request to be a member. And then on the very top, they're all pinned across there. So you don't have to scroll down. If you want to scroll down and look at other pictures in history, and people are free to post stuff on there as long as it's related to POA history, you can. But on the top is all these episodes. So, and of course, these are live on Tuesday nights. I try to do them every Tuesday. Sometimes I don't get a break, so I apologize if I do too many hums and ums, because it is live and I don't edit anything. So again, thanks, and thanks for Dean for reminding me to tell people to go on Ecamm Live, and I did send that link out. Shane helped me today, the owner and general manager here at Jackson's Auto Family in Enid, Oklahoma, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. He helped me send that out, the Ecamm Live. So all you got to do is go on there and accept that, and then I can see who's commenting. So like I see Dean said, Fishers are a great family and good friends. So that's good. So all right, Tracy said night, so I'm gonna wrap it up. So enjoy the song, everybody. Thanks for watching.
My BFF is a BO.